Hello, my name is Jenna, and for my independent project, I measured beavers' effects on the biodiversity surrounding their pond. This study was done in the Sawtooth Recreational Area, which is in the Rocky Mountains of central Idaho, and I collected data at 2 ponds. The first pond was a newly established beaver pond around about a month old when I started collecting data from it, and this pond was located in the gulch of a mountain. The second pond was an older beaver pond that was around 20 years old and was right off the highway in a flat, marshy area. Some background on beavers and how my study connected to their importance. Beavers are known to be ecological engineers as they can totally change the environment they choose to inhabit. Looking just at the picture on the right, you can see the beavers at the new pond cut down all of these aspen trees within a day that I visited. The main reason that beavers actually change an environment so much is because of their efforts to make a lodge, which is their shelter, and in the creation of an environment that is suitable to support their food. In a study done by Bart Nolet, he found that beavers selectively remove all tree species that are non-willow to create dams and other barriers to create the pond-like ecosystem that they're striving for. This type of environment is beneficial for the growth of their typical food sources and is also good for their shelter. They don't want flowing water because it could wipe out their lodge or flood it. And in doing all of their alterations, they can significantly change the ecosystem as they are creating a pond in what was maybe previously not a pond ecosystem. I was curious for my study to find out if beavers increase or decrease the biodiversity of their environment, specifically around their pond, like on the land, based on all of their actions and alterations. My hypothesis was that beavers will overall increase the biodiversity on the land surrounding their pond because the non-flowing water will support more species growth. And my prediction was that the established old beaver pond will have a greater diversity of species than the new pond. For my study, I did the quadrant sampling method to collect my data, and in doing so, I used a random number generator to randomize how many steps out from the water to take and how many steps along the pond, so I could cover most of the distance around the pond and not have any visual bias when selecting the quadrant location. I then used the Shannon index to calculate the overall diversity of the pond and ran a paired t-test on R to create a box plot. In the analysis of my results, my data unfortunately did not support my hypothesis as the p-value and t-test were not statistically significant. However, when looking at the box plot, it does look visually like there is a bit of a difference. After researching why my data may have shown the results it did, I found a study done by Dean E. Medin and Warren P. Clary, who observed that beavers can have both a positive and negative influence on species diversity depending on what the species are. For instance, beavers tend to have a positive influence on the amount of herbaceous and graminoid biomass and height, but in beaver pond ecosystems, they tend to have a lower amount of shrub height biomass and other larger bushes like that. So the takeaway from this, what I learned from their study and my study, was a future study on these beaver ponds, it would be very beneficial to categorize the species and compare the Shannon index for each category. Because while the overall biodiversity did seem to increase, it is more likely that specific species will be more successful than others in this changed ecosystem. And knowing exactly what species those are, you can have a better idea on, in certain locations, like in Idaho specifically at this pond, how certain species will be affected. Something that would also be very interesting to do is to measure the Shannon index of the new pond in several years and see how the biodiversity changes over time. Since I do have all of the data, raw data still from that, I could go back in a few years from now and see if certain species tend to go extinct or thrive in this new condition, and really learn from that. So that was my overall study, and it was very cute to look at these beavers and take a lot of pictures of them. All these pictures of these slides I took myself. And here's my works cited. Thank you.